All right, so I don't do math, but Chris does, because I thought November 4th was next Tuesday. So the good news is for not only myself, but for all the NFL teams, they have a lot more time to figure out exactly what trades they would like to make before 4 p.m. on Tuesday, November 4th. However, we've got insiders, we have experts, analysts. So we're going to bring in one of them, Tyler Sullivan. We're going to talk about maybe some of the top targets for a lot of the teams out there that are kind of looking for that missing piece. Let's start with the Chiefs. Who do you think they should go after to continue to be the Kansas City Chiefs that make it to the Super Bowl all the time?
Amanda, whenever we get to the trade deadline, everybody wants to go offense just because it's a lot more fun. So a lot of people are pointing to the running back position for the Kansas City Chiefs, but I'm actually helping out Spags. I'm going on the defensive side of the ball. I'm giving him a pass rusher. Looking at Miami, looking at Jalen Phillips, I think that he is someone that very much could be on the block. He's in the final year of his deal, going to be a free agent this offseason. And if you're the Miami Dolphins at 1-6, you got to look at yourselves in the mirror and say, is this somebody that we want to attach ourselves to in the future, or do we move him at the deadline, gain some assets, and continue or start what is looking like pretty much a reset, possibly with firing Mike McDaniel, moving on from Tua Tagovailoa. All of those permutations could start at the deadline, could start with someone like Jalen Phillips, and I think he makes sense for the Kansas City Chiefs because as much as we commend Spags for having one of the best defenses in the NFL, the edge has kind of been an issue for them. They are in the bottom half of the NFL in terms of pressure rate, pressures, total sacks. So to me, you bring in somebody like this after you just got an injection on offense with the return of Rashee Rice. You now boost your defense, and you are suddenly continuing to be in that Super Bowl conversation.
Okay, so here's the thing with trades, though. You got to give up something in order to get them. So what would the Chiefs be giving up in this instance?
I would give up a 2026 fourth-round pick. They have a few of them. They traded Joe Thuney that last offseason. That could be a possibility to give yourself some flexibility. I would say even a little bit rich for someone who's a little bit injury-prone over the last few years. This is a pure rental unless you decide to sign him to some sort of an extension. But overall, I think that if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you continue to kind of go all in on these seasons, especially when it does feel like you have suddenly emerged over the last couple of weeks here with the offense figuring things out, with Rashee Rice coming back, Patrick Mahomes now playing at an MVP level. You go all in on these seasons when you have kicks at the can, especially in years where Joe Burrow, right now, non-factor. Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, they have one win. The Buffalo Bills have questions on offense. There's a lane here for the Kansas City Chiefs to once again get to a Super Bowl. I think that if you make a move on defense at the deadline, it'll help you get there.
Okay, so the Chiefs potentially a favorite to come out of the AFC. Let's talk about the top favorite right now to come out of the NFC. That would be the Lions. You're looking at the secondary, and I believe in their last game, I mean, it's a makeshift group right now. They did not have anybody playing in that last game who started in week 1. So you are looking at a member of the secondary. Who would you like that to be?
Yeah, it was Atlanta Misfit Toys win last week because it does feel like it was literally no one that we can recognize, and still they were able to pull it off. And maybe that calms the nerves a little bit, but overall I do think that this is a team that needs to add some depth, and I think Cam Taylor-Britt not only gives you depth but gives you starting experience. You talked about it. There are 4 starters that have been dealing with injuries, Terrion Arnold being one of them, Kirby being another, and you have a guy like DJ Reed on injured reserve. You need a healthy body in one way or another. Obviously, you'd like to get some of those guys back, but bringing in someone like Cam Taylor-Britt, I don't think would cost you that much. I'm talking a day 3 pick in the lower tier of day 3 picks, because this is a guy that has fallen out of favor in Cincinnati. He's been a healthy scratch over the last couple of weeks or so due to somewhat of poor performance, but also I wonder too if scheme fit is going to be an issue for him with the Cincinnati Bengals. So again, I think this is a change of scenery option for the Lions. It's not going to cost you a lot. You are firmly in the driver's seat, I feel, right now in the NFC North, something that I didn't think I'd be talking about after seeing the Packers over the first couple of weeks, but they've come back down to earth. This is one of your key weaknesses, whether it's health or just play on the field. So give yourself a depth piece with starting experience in Cam Taylor-Britt.
You mentioned a change of scenery, and somebody who's been looking for a change of scenery since before the season began has been Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals. A lot of people are going to be after him. There's been a lot of teams mentioned. It is a very interesting one. I mean, it makes sense. You're going with the Dallas Cowboys. So tell us why. Could it happen? and what the Cowboys would have to give up.
Yeah, let's get a little crazy, right? I mean, those other ones, they're fine. They're probably a little bit more realistic, but Trey Hendrickson is someone that I think may be on the move. The Cincinnati Bengals will have to look themselves in the mirror. Yes, they are above 500. They're coming off a win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They traded for Joe Flacco. They're scratching and clawing and trying to put themselves back into the conversation. But if we're being honest with ourselves, we look at the Cincinnati Bengals, and I don't think that anybody is afraid of them right now. And we don't know what Joe Burrow is going to look like if and when he comes back and where this team is going to be. They have shown us over the last couple of years now that Trey Hendrickson is not somebody that they want to sign long-term at 31 years old. They gave him a little bit of a sweetener this offseason after really a lot of drama surrounding his possible and ultimately no extension. And so if you're at the deadline here and you're saying, okay, we're going to lose this player in what feels like a lost season, why not we just try to explore the possibility of moving on from it? If you're the Dallas Cowboys, yeah, you did lose Micah Parsons. You sent him away to Green Bay, but you still have a need at pass rusher. They are top 5 in the NFL in pressure rate, but they haven't been able to get home. More middle of the road in terms of sacks, middle of the road in terms of pressure. And of course, we know the defense overall has not lived up to any sort of expectation, bottom tier in the NFL. You look opposite. Jerry Jones is looking at a top 5 offense in the NFL. He needs to do something to give a playmaker on that defensive side of the ball to really help out his overall team. So I'm willing to give a second-round pick for a rental piece. And, of course, maybe they sign him to a long-term extension. But I would go for that high second-round pick, and I would even throw in a player there as well, Mozzie Smith, defensive tackle, former first-round pick, hasn't lived up to that billing in Dallas, but he is someone that could maybe use a change of scenery, and it would give Cincinnati an instant player on the defensive line.
Let me ask you this, because the rumors are that the Bengals are not looking, with Joe Burrow out there, not necessarily looking to move him. Do you think, what probability do you give that he does, in fact, get moved?
I would say it's probably a true coin flip, because I truly think that they probably should move him, because if they are not going to sign him to a long-term extension, and there has been no prior evidence that they are going to at this juncture, you kind of have to be realistic with yourself. This is probably a lost season. Yes, Joe Flacco is a good story, but I don't think that's winning you a division. I don't know if that's getting you a wild card spot. And again, you want to contend in 2026 at this point. You want to contend in 2027 when Joe Burrow is healthy. You get yourself a second-round pick from Dallas that's only going to help you at a low cost on a rookie deal bring in a playmaker for next season. So to me, I think it would make all the sense in the world, but it's hard for teams to look themselves in the mirror, so that's why I say it's really 50-50.
All right, one more team to talk about. We'll stay in the AFC North, and we're going to talk about the Steelers here, who they could potentially target when the trade deadline comes. Yesterday, Pete Prisco was calling this team old. He wasn't just talking about Aaron Rodgers either. So you are looking at a weapon for Aaron Rodgers, a little younger, 28 years old. Who do you like?
Yeah, I like Jacoby Myers, and this is not surprising because he has been the most outspoken of not wanting to be in Las Vegas, requesting a trade this offseason, not getting it. Asked about it recently, saying, yeah, I would still like to be traded, so you know what, let's move him. For the sake of this segment, let's move him, let's fulfill his wishes, and actually send him to Pittsburgh, a team that desperately needs him. I was really excited to see the possibility of DK Metcalf and George Pickens in Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers. They acquired DK Metcalf and immediately trade away George Pickens to Dallas, so we haven't seen a true number 2 running mate with DK Metcalf. And you look at the numbers here, Metcalf has 406 receiving yards this season. The next highest wide receiver is Calvin Austin with 139. You're talking about almost a 300-yard difference. There has been really no production outside of DK Metcalf at the wide receiver spot. If you are Pittsburgh, you are all in on 2025 when you brought in Aaron Rodgers. This is someone who I feel is an all-in type of trade, a perfect complement to DK Metcalf, a former 1,000-yard receiver, a veteran in this league. I think that would immediately help this offense. So I would be willing to give up a higher day 3 pick. Honestly, I would even consider a 4th-round pick if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have a ton of draft picks in 2026, so I would really leverage myself to add to this team in 2025 because of the quarterback situation with Rodgers.